Welcome to the Secret Love Story channel. Today, we bring you a story that is not only about social discrimination but also a profound lesson about the true value of humanity. Let's follow along to uncover the secrets behind that sparkling necklace. Let's embrace these wonderful emotions together. Peter, a man who had faced the harsh realities of life for far too long, stood outside the elegant restaurant in New York City, a stark contrast to the opulence that lay beyond the heavy glass doors. Clad in tattered, dirty clothes that spoke of countless days spent wandering the unforgiving streets, he hesitated momentarily, his heart racing with anxiety and hope. The gnawing hunger in his stomach propelled him forward, the allure of a hot meal was too strong to resist. As he pushed the door open and stepped inside, the lively conversations and the clinking of fine cutlery abruptly came to a halt, the atmosphere thick with judgmental gazes that bore down on him. Peter's appearance instantly marked him as an outsider in this sanctuary of luxury, where the wealthy dined with an air of superiority. He approached a waiter, his voice barely above a whisper, trembling with desperation as he pleaded for something to eat. But before the waiter could respond, the restaurant manager, a burly man with a stern demeanor, intervened. His voice thundered across the dining room, a cruel echo that seemed to resonate with the disdain of the patrons. "Get out of here now." The humiliation Peter felt in that moment was palpable, it sliced through him like a cold blade. He recoiled at the manager's harsh words, desperately trying to explain himself. "I just wanted something to eat. I'm hungry." But his pleas fell on deaf ears. The manager's tone was unforgiving, insisting that Peter was scaring the customers and that he had no place in such an establishment. As Peter stood there, head bowed in defeat, he felt the weight of the world pressing down on him. The stares from the diners were a painful reminder of the societal divide that separated him from the affluent world surrounding him. The contemptuous glances of disgust mingled with curiosity pierced him deeply, reinforcing the sense of worthlessness that had taken root in his heart. He clutched the only valuable possession he had, a necklace hidden beneath his clothes, desperately trying to protect it from the scornful eyes of those around him. The necklace, more than just a piece of jewelry, was a symbol of better times, a connection to a life he once knew, filled with love and hope. It represented memories of happier days, and now, it was all he had left. As he was forcefully pushed out of the restaurant, Peter felt tears of humiliation threatening to spill down his cheeks. The manager's angry shouts echoed in his ears, drowning out the symphony of clinking glasses and laughter that continued inside. Once outside, he leaned against the cold wall of the restaurant, trying to steady his breath and regain composure. His heart ached not just from hunger but from the brutal reminder of how cruel the world could be. The warmth of the restaurant felt like a distant dream, while the biting cold of reality engulfed him once more. He recalled the moments when he had a roof over his head, a family who cared, and a life that didn't involve the constant struggle for survival. Those memories seemed like a lifetime ago, overshadowed by the relentless challenges he faced each day. As he adjusted the necklace around his neck, his fingers brushed against the pendant, a small token of affection from a loved one long lost. The pendant felt cool against his skin, grounding him in a moment where he still held on to a fragment of his past, even as the present threatened to swallow him whole. Across the restaurant, Camila Ortiz, a well-dressed woman enjoying her meal, watched the scene unfold with a growing sense of discomfort. The sight of Peter's humiliation resonated deeply with her, stirring a feeling she couldn't quite articulate. As the restaurant manager's words reverberated in the air, her gaze was drawn to the familiar necklace hanging around Peter's neck. It was a pendant she had given to her daughter, Beatrice, on her 16th birthday, a cherished gift that now seemed to carry the weight of unresolved sorrow. Camila's heart raced as the memories flooded back. Beatrice had disappeared 5 years prior, leaving behind a chasm of guilt and longing in Camila's heart. She had searched high and low, employing detectives and using every resource at her disposal, but Beatrice had vanished without a trace. Now, seeing that necklace on a homeless man brought forth a surge of emotions that she had kept buried for so long. Could this man be connected to her daughter? Could he hold the key to finding Beatrice after all these years? In that moment, the restaurant's opulence faded away for Camila as she became acutely aware of the stark realities that existed just outside those doors. The divide between her comfortable life and Peter's harsh existence was painfully apparent, a reality she had been sheltered from in her world of privilege. It was a reminder that beneath the layers of wealth and status lay a hidden struggle that many faced, often unnoticed and disregarded by those who lived comfortably. Determined not to let the opportunity slip away, Camila rose from her table, leaving a generous tip for the waiter as she made her way towards Peter. Her heart raced with a mix of hope and trepidation. She was about to confront a man who had just been so brutally shunned. She needed to know more about him, about the necklace, and ultimately, about her daughter. The world around her faded as she approached Peter, her voice firm yet filled with emotion. "Wait." Peter turned slowly, his tired eyes meeting hers, filled with distrust and weariness. "Yes, ma'am," he replied, unsure of what this woman wanted from him. Camila felt a lump form in her throat, her mind racing with questions and the overwhelming desire to help him. She needed answers, and perhaps, in helping him, she could find a piece of herself back, find Beatrice. In that moment, the hum of the restaurant and the laughter of its patrons became background noise, overshadowed by the weight of their shared experience. Two lives from opposite ends of the societal spectrum converged at that moment, united by the common thread of suffering, hope, and the yearning for connection. Peter stood there, embodying the resilience of the human spirit, while Camila represented the relentless search for redemption and reconciliation. The conversation that would unfold between them held the promise of uncovering truths that had been buried for too long, as both sought to bridge the chasm that life had placed between them. As Camila Ortiz sat at her usual table in the elegantly appointed restaurant, the ambience enveloped her in a cocoon of comfort and familiarity. The rich aromas of grilled salmon and the clinking of fine cutlery filled the air, blending with the lively chatter of well-dressed patrons. Each detail of the restaurant exuded luxury, a sharp contrast to the reality that lay just outside its doors. For Camila, this was more than just a dining experience, it was a moment of reprieve from her meticulously structured life, where every day mirrored the last, defined by routine and control. Yet, on this particular day, a subtle unease lingered beneath her composed exterior, a feeling she couldn't quite place. As she scanned the room, her attention was drawn to the entrance where the heavy glass doors swung open. A figure stepped inside, a man whose appearance starkly contrasted the lavish surroundings. Dressed in tattered clothes, his face etched with the hardships of life, he moved cautiously, as if the very act of entering was an affront to the opulence around him. Camila felt a pang of discomfort in her chest, an instinctive reaction to the palpable divide between the worlds they inhabited. She watched as he approached a waiter, his voice trembling as he made a simple request for something to eat. Before the waiter could respond, the restaurant manager intervened, unleashing a torrent of scorn upon him. "Get out of here now!" The manager's voice echoed through the dining room, a harsh and unforgiving proclamation that silenced the conversations around them. Camila's heart sank as she witnessed the humiliation unfold. The man, who merely sought sustenance, recoiled in disbelief, his desperate plea met with derision. As he turned to leave, the humiliation was etched onto his face, a reflection of years spent on the margins of society. Camila felt her stomach churn, her unease escalating into a profound sense of empathy for the man who had been so cruelly dismissed. It was then that she noticed something glimmering beneath the frayed fabric of his shirt. As the man adjusted the necklace around his neck, Camila's breath caught in her throat. Time seemed to freeze, and the bustling restaurant faded away, replaced by a rush of memories and emotions that flooded her mind. The pendant was unmistakable, a cherished gift she had given to her daughter, Beatrice, on her 16th birthday. The sight of that necklace, so intimately connected to her daughter, ignited a flicker of hope mixed with overwhelming pain. Camila's heart raced as memories of Beatrice flooded back, memories filled with both love and regret. Beatrice had always been a vibrant and spirited young woman, brimming with dreams and aspirations. However, their relationship had become strained as Beatrice entered her teenage years, leading to a fierce argument that had ultimately resulted in her disappearance 5 years ago. In that moment of confrontation, Beatrice had taken only a few belongings and the precious necklace, an emblem of their bond. Camila had searched tirelessly for her daughter, employing private detectives and using every connection at her disposal, but Beatrice had vanished without a trace. Now, seeing the necklace around the neck of a homeless man, emotions surged within her, a mix of hope, guilt, and longing. As Peter was forcibly ushered out of the restaurant, Camila felt an urgent need to follow him, to confront this unexpected connection to her daughter. The recognition of the necklace had rekindled a flicker of hope that had long been extinguished in her heart. The longing to know what had happened to Beatrice and to understand the circumstances that had led to this man possessing her daughter's necklace was overwhelming. In that moment, Camila resolved to take action, determined not to let this opportunity slip through her fingers. Camila stood up, her heart pounding as she left a generous tip on the table, the sound of the clattering coins echoing in her ears. She moved toward the exit, her eyes locked onto Peter's retreating figure. As she stepped outside, the cold air hit her, but it was nothing compared to the coldness she felt in witnessing Peter's suffering. "Wait," she called out, her voice firm yet laden with emotion. Peter turned slowly, his tired eyes meeting hers with a mixture of distrust and confusion. "Yes, ma'am," he replied, the weariness evident in his tone. With her heart racing, Camila approached him, the urgency in her voice betraying the vulnerability she felt. "That necklace you're wearing, where did you get it?" she asked, trying to keep her composure. The moment hung in the air between them, charged with unspoken questions and a desperate need for connection. Peter instinctively touched the pendant, his fingers brushing against its cool surface as he hesitated. "It was a gift," he said vaguely, his gaze drifting away from her. "From someone special." Camila felt a lump form in her throat, pushing past the uncertainty that gripped her. "Please," she urged, taking a step closer. "What is her name? Do you know her?" The intensity of her inquiry seemed to catch Peter off guard, and for a brief moment, she saw a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Her name was Beatrice," he finally confessed, meeting her gaze with a blend of surprise and apprehension. The world around Camila spun, and a rush of emotions coursed through her veins. Her daughter was alive, and this man, this stranger, held a connection to her that she had been longing for all these years. The realization washed over her like a tidal wave, a potent mix of relief and trepidation. In Peter, she saw not only a man who had endured unimaginable hardships but also a lifeline to her daughter, a beacon of hope in her relentless search for Beatrice. The memories of their strained relationship flooded back, the arguments, the misunderstandings, the heartache. Camila felt the weight of guilt settle on her shoulders, a burden she had carried since Beatrice's disappearance. "Please come with me," Camila said softly, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions within her. "We need to talk." Peter hesitated, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. But something in Camila's expression, perhaps the sincerity of her plea or the shared pain of their experiences, compelled him to agree. They walked together, two individuals from vastly different worlds brought together by the threads of fate, each carrying their own burdens yet united by the hope of finding healing. As they entered a nearby cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee enveloped them, momentarily providing a sense of comfort amidst the chaos of their lives. They found a secluded table in the back, away from prying eyes, where they could converse freely. Camila's heart raced as she leaned in, her eyes fixed on Peter. "Tell me everything you know about Beatrice," she urged, her voice filled with both urgency and hope. Peter took a deep breath, preparing to share the story that would bridge the years of separation between mother and daughter. As he recounted how Beatrice had appeared in his life during one of his darkest moments, Camila listened intently, each word drawing her closer to the daughter she had lost. The connection they shared, their love for Beatrice, became a thread weaving them together, bridging the chasm of their disparate lives. If you find it interesting, please like it. If not, please comment number 1. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. In that cafe, amidst the warm scent of coffee and pastries, a new chapter began to unfold. Camila's determination to find her daughter reignited, fueled by the knowledge that Beatrice was alive and that she had left behind a legacy of kindness and compassion. As the conversation flowed, the two of them began to forge a bond built on their shared love for Beatrice, each realizing that they were not alone in their struggles. This recognition of the necklace not only revived Camila's hope but also illuminated the power of human connection, the ability to reach across the divides that life had imposed. In Peter, she saw not just a reminder of her daughter but also a reflection of the resilience of the human spirit. Together, they embarked on a journey of discovery, determined to uncover the truth and restore the broken bonds of family. As Peter stood outside the elegant restaurant, still reeling from the humiliation he had just endured, he felt a flicker of warmth at the memory of Beatrice, the young woman who had unknowingly transformed his life. The chill of the evening air seemed to seep into his bones, but the thought of her brought a sense of comfort amidst the biting cold reality of his existence. Beatrice had crossed paths with him during one of the darkest periods of his life, a time when despair clung to him like a second skin, and hope felt like a distant dream. Peter had found himself on the streets, navigating the unforgiving landscape of homelessness. Life had dealt him a harsh hand, a series of unfortunate events had led to the unraveling of the life he once knew. He often wandered the city, his heart heavy with regret and longing for a past filled with love and warmth. But then, one fateful winter night, he had met Beatrice. It was a night like any other, cold and lonely, when he stumbled into an alleyway, seeking shelter from the elements. That was when Beatrice had appeared, a bright light in the darkness that enveloped him. With her gentle smile and kind eyes, she had offered him more than just food, she had offered him compassion. Peter remembered the way she knelt beside him, extending a warm blanket and a container of hot soup, her hands steady despite the tremors of anxiety he could see flickering in her eyes. "You shouldn't be out here alone," she had said, her voice soft yet filled with conviction. "Everyone deserves help, especially when things get tough." Those words resonated with him, stirring a long-buried sense of humanity that had almost faded away during his time on the streets. Over the next few months, Beatrice and Peter formed an unlikely friendship. She was young and vibrant, brimming with dreams and aspirations, while he was a man worn down by life's struggles. Despite the vast chasm between their circumstances, they found solace in each other's company. Beatrice would often visit him in the alley, bringing not only food but also a listening ear and a kind heart. Their conversations flowed easily, ranging from light-hearted banter to deeper discussions about life, dreams, and the fears that haunted them both. Peter was taken aback by her generosity. He learned that Beatrice had her own battles to fight, running from something that she couldn't fully disclose. Yet, even while grappling with her demons, she found the strength to help others. Peter admired her resilience, marveling at how someone so young could possess such a deep well of compassion. He had watched as she interacted with other homeless individuals, treating each of them with respect and dignity, often putting their needs above her own. She had a natural gift for lifting spirits, her laughter infectious and her kindness disarming. It was during one of those cold winter evenings that Beatrice had given him the necklace. "I want you to have this," she had said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. The pendant was a small but beautiful token, and as she pressed it into his hands, she explained its significance. "This was given to me by my mother. It reminds me to stay hopeful, no matter how difficult things get. I think you need it more than I do now." Her words had struck a chord deep within him, and for the first time in a long while, Peter felt a sense of connection, not just to Beatrice but to the world around him. He treasured that necklace, wearing it close to his heart as a symbol of the friendship that had blossomed in the most unexpected of circumstances. The act of giving had not only deepened their bond but had also given Peter a sense of purpose. He wanted to honor Beatrice's kindness, to be the light in someone else's darkness as she had been in his. They worked together, trying to help others in their community, sharing meals and laughter amidst the harsh realities of life on the streets. However, their time together was fleeting. One day, without warning, Beatrice vanished, leaving only a note that simply said, "I need to find my own path." Peter's heart sank as he read those words, confusion and despair washing over him. He felt abandoned, the warmth of her presence replaced by a chilling emptiness. It was as if the light she had brought into his life had been snuffed out, leaving him to navigate the darkness alone once more. The necklace became a bittersweet reminder of their connection and the unresolved questions that haunted him. In the years that followed, Peter often found himself reflecting on Beatrice and their time together. He tried to carry forward her spirit of kindness, helping others whenever he could, even as life continued to throw challenges his way. Yet, there remained a void, an unanswered question of what had truly happened to her after she left. He yearned to know if she was safe, if she had found what she was looking for, and if she ever thought about him. The uncertainty gnawed at him, but he clung to the hope that one day, their paths would cross again. Now, as he stood before Camila, the sight of the necklace around his neck reignited a spark of hope in his heart. Camila's recognition of it was a profound twist of fate that he could never have anticipated. She represented the connection to Beatrice that he had lost, and in that moment, he felt a surge of emotions, fear, hope, and a hint of trepidation. Would this woman bring him closer to the answers he sought about Beatrice, or would it only serve to deepen his sorrow? When Camila asked him about Beatrice, the name hung in the air like a prayer. Her name was Beatrice, he said, the words escaping his lips as if they held a weight he had long carried. The moment felt charged, as though the universe had conspired to bring them together, two souls linked by a shared love for the same person. As they began to converse, Peter could see the urgency in Camila's eyes, the depth of her pain mirroring his own. The realization that they were both searching for Beatrice ignited a flame of determination within him. In the hours that followed, Peter opened up about his time with Beatrice, recounting the kindness she had shown him and the impact she had made on his life. As he shared their story, he felt a sense of catharsis, as if the weight of unanswered questions and lingering regrets was slowly being lifted. Camila listened intently, her eyes reflecting a mix of hope and sorrow, and with each word, the bond between them deepened. Together, they began to weave the threads of their shared experiences, determined to uncover the truth behind Beatrice's disappearance. Peter realized that he had found not only a connection to Beatrice but also an ally in Camila, someone who understood the depths of their shared loss and the longing for redemption. As they embarked on this new journey together, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Perhaps, just perhaps, they could find Beatrice and help her reclaim the life she had been searching for all along. In that cafe, amidst the warmth of shared stories and the promise of healing, Peter felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. The journey to find Beatrice would not be easy, but he knew that with Camila by his side, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. It was the beginning of a new chapter, a chance to unravel the mysteries of the past and forge a path toward a brighter future. Together, they were no longer alone in their search, they had become a team, united by love, loss, and the relentless pursuit of truth. As Camila Ortiz stood in the cafe, her heart raced with a mixture of urgency and hope, the weight of the moment settling heavily on her shoulders. The revelation that Peter, a man who had endured so much suffering, held a connection to her long-lost daughter Beatrice ignited a fire within her. All the years of searching, the countless sleepless nights filled with worry and regret, converged into this single moment of possibility. It felt as if the universe had conspired to bring her to this very place, to this very man, who was now the key to unlocking the mystery of Beatrice's disappearance. Camila's mind raced as she recalled the last time she had seen Beatrice, a day etched into her memory, marked by a fierce argument that had left them both devastated. In that moment of anger, Beatrice had stormed out, taking with her only a few belongings and the precious necklace that Camila had given her on her 16th birthday. Since that day, Camila had tirelessly searched for her daughter, employing private detectives and utilizing every connection in her network, yet Beatrice seemed to have vanished without a trace. The guilt of their final confrontation weighed heavily on Camila's heart, and now, faced with Peter's revelation, she felt a surge of determination course through her veins. "Please come with me," Camila said, her voice firm yet laden with emotion as she looked into Peter's eyes. There was a vulnerability in her gaze, a desperate need for answers that she could no longer contain. "We need to talk about Beatrice, everything you know." Peter hesitated for a moment, the wariness evident in his expression. He was a man who had experienced betrayal and loss, and the idea of opening up to another person after years of solitude was daunting. But something in Camila's eyes, a reflection of shared pain and urgency, compelled him to agree. As they walked together through the streets of the city, Camila felt a renewed sense of purpose. Each step she took echoed the beat of her heart, pounding with the promise of uncovering the truth. Memories of Beatrice flooded her mind, mingling with the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this man might help her find her daughter. She imagined the moments they had shared, the laughter, the love, and the dreams that had once filled their home. It had all been replaced by an unbearable silence, a void that seemed to stretch endlessly. Once seated at a small table in the cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee enveloped them, providing a brief respite from the emotional turmoil that had consumed both. Camila leaned in closer, her voice filled with urgency as she asked Peter to recount everything he knew about Beatrice. As he began to share their story, detailing how she had appeared in his life at a moment when he was at his lowest, Camila listened intently, each word pulling her deeper into the narrative of her daughter's life. Peter spoke of how Beatrice had reached out to him during a bitter winter, offering him warmth and kindness when he felt invisible to the world. He described the friendship they had formed, a bond built on mutual need and understanding. Camila's heart swelled with pride as she heard about her daughter's generosity, her spirit shining through even in her darkest moments. The tears that threatened to spill from her eyes were ones of bittersweet joy. This was the Beatrice she had known, the young woman with a heart of gold, eager to help those in need despite her own struggles. However, as Peter continued, Camila felt the familiar pang of guilt wash over her. Beatrice had chosen to help him while grappling with her own challenges, and now it was clear that her departure had not been a mere act of rebellion but a necessary step in seeking her own path. Camila's mind raced with questions. What had happened to her daughter? Where had she gone after leaving Peter? And, most importantly, was Beatrice safe? With each revelation, Camila's determination intensified. She could no longer be a passive observer in her daughter's life, she had to act. The time for waiting and hoping was over. Camila resolved to do whatever it took to find Beatrice, no matter the obstacles that lay ahead. She understood that the journey might be fraught with challenges, but the thought of reuniting with her daughter ignited a fire in her soul, propelling her forward. Peter, she said, her voice steady and filled with conviction, we have to find Beatrice. I need your help. Together, we can piece together the clues and track her down. Peter met her gaze, and in that moment, he saw the fierce determination reflected in her eyes. The weight of their shared mission settled upon them, and he felt a sense of camaraderie building between them, a partnership forged in the fires of loss and hope. The following days were a whirlwind of activity. Camila utilized her resources and connections, diving into public records and social media searches to locate any trace of Beatrice. With her wealth and influence, she could access information that would be beyond reach for most. Meanwhile, Peter returned to the streets, reaching out to contacts he had made during his time with Beatrice, gathering any leads that could lead them to her whereabouts. It was a race against time, fueled by a shared urgency that propelled them both forward. Each lead brought new excitement and challenges. Camila felt her heart leap with each new piece of information, but with that excitement also came frustration. Many of the leads led to dead ends, and each time she had to confront the possibility that Beatrice might not want to be found, her heart ached. The thought of her daughter deliberately cutting ties with her was unbearable, yet deep down, Camila understood that she had to respect Beatrice's choices, no matter how painful they were. However, amidst the setbacks, there were moments of hope. A woman who had worked with Beatrice at a diner recalled her vibrant spirit and her dreams of finding a new life. Another contact mentioned that Beatrice had expressed a desire to find a quiet town where she could disappear and start anew. Each piece of information reaffirmed Camila's belief that Beatrice was still out there, alive, and perhaps even thriving. As the days turned into weeks, Camila and Peter's partnership blossomed into a deep friendship grounded in their shared commitment to finding Beatrice. They supported each other through the emotional ups and downs, their connection deepening with each new revelation. Peter found himself feeling a renewed sense of purpose as well, motivated by Camila's unwavering determination. He wanted to honor Beatrice's memory by helping her mother find her. Finally, a breakthrough occurred. Camila hired a private detective who had experience dealing with missing persons cases. The detective utilized resources that both Peter and Camila could not access, combing through databases and public records with relentless tenacity. After a week of searching, they found a lead. A young woman resembling Beatrice was seen working at a bookstore in a small town known as Maplewood. Camila's heart raced as they prepared to follow this new lead. The thought that they might finally be close to finding Beatrice ignited a fierce determination within her. They arranged a trip to Maplewood, fueled by a sense of urgency and hope. As they traveled, Camila couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought her to this moment, the years of searching, the pain of separation, and the unexpected bond she had formed with Peter. Together, they represented a powerful force in the search for Beatrice. Upon arrival in Maplewood, the town's quaint charm enveloped them, a stark contrast to the chaos they had both known. The tree-lined streets and picturesque shops painted a serene backdrop for what they hoped would be a life-changing reunion. As they approached the bookstore, Camila felt a mixture of anxiety and excitement wash over her. She was ready to face whatever came next, driven by the hope of finally being reunited with her daughter. As they stepped inside the bookstore, the familiar smell of old books and fresh coffee filled the air, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Camila felt a wave of emotion swell within her. Here, in this small town, lay the promise of healing and redemption, not just for herself but for Beatrice as well. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the moment that would change everything. The journey to find Beatrice was far from over, but Camila was ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. With Peter by her side, they would face this journey together, united by a shared purpose and an unbreakable bond. Camila felt a renewed sense of hope. No longer was she alone in her quest, she had found an ally, a friend, and a fellow seeker of truth. Together, they would navigate the path ahead, fueled by the unyielding love that had sparked this journey, a love that refused to fade, even in the face of despair. The sun shone brightly over Maplewood as Camila Ortiz stood outside the quaint bookstore, her heart pounding with anticipation and hope. After weeks of searching, fueled by determination and an unyielding love for her daughter, she had finally arrived at this moment, the possibility of being reunited with Beatrice. The detective had provided them with a solid lead, and now Camila felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as she prepared to step into the space where her daughter had built a new life. This bookstore, filled with the scent of old pages and fresh coffee, represented not just a business but a sanctuary, a place where Beatrice had found solace and purpose. As Camila pushed open the door, the familiar sound of a bell chimed above her, and she stepped inside. The warmth of the shop enveloped her, a stark contrast to the chilly air outside. Her eyes quickly scanned the room, taking in the cozy atmosphere, the shelves lined with books, and the patrons quietly browsing through the titles. And then, in the back of the store, she spotted her, a young woman with light brown hair, standing behind the counter, arranging some books. In that instant, time seemed to stand still, and the world around her faded away. It was Beatrice. Camila's breath caught in her throat, and tears brimmed in her eyes as she whispered, "Beatrice." The name slipped from her lips like a prayer, filled with longing and love. As if sensing her presence, Beatrice turned, and their eyes met across the distance. For a moment, the air crackled with unspoken emotions, a mix of surprise, fear, and recognition passed between them. Camila took a tentative step forward, her heart racing as the reality of this moment began to sink in. Beatrice's expression shifted from shock to disbelief, and then to something softer, more vulnerable. "Mom?" Beatrice murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. The sound broke the tension in the air, flooding Camila's heart with warmth and relief. In that moment, all the years of searching, the pain of separation, and the heartache that had defined their relationship fell away, leaving only the raw, unfiltered love that had always connected them. Camila took another step forward, her arms outstretched, and before she knew it, Beatrice had crossed the distance between them, collapsing into her mother's embrace. As they hugged tightly, Camila felt the familiar warmth of her daughter against her chest, a sensation she had longed for every day since Beatrice had disappeared. It felt as if the years of separation melted away, replaced by a profound sense of belonging. Tears streamed down Camila's cheeks as she whispered, "I've missed you so much." Beatrice held onto her mother tightly, her own tears flowing freely as she whispered back, "I thought I'd never see you again." The emotional weight of their reunion filled the small bookstore, a poignant reminder of the love that had endured despite the distance and silence that had separated them. As they finally pulled away from the embrace, Camila looked into Beatrice's eyes, searching for the girl she once knew and the woman she had become. The depth of emotion reflected in Beatrice's gaze mirrored her own, a mixture of relief, joy, and a hint of sorrow for the lost years. "What happened to you, sweetheart?" Camila asked, her voice trembling with concern and love. "I've been so worried." Beatrice took a deep breath, her expression shifting as she prepared to share the story of her journey, the struggles she had faced and the reasons behind her departure. In the warmth of the bookstore, surrounded by the comforting aroma of books, Beatrice began to recount her experiences, revealing the challenges that had led her to run away in search of freedom. As Beatrice spoke, Camila listened intently, her heart aching with each revelation. She learned about the pressures Beatrice had felt, the conflicts that had driven a wedge between them, and the fear that had compelled her to leave home. Beatrice described how she had faced numerous obstacles while trying to find her own identity, her voice filled with a mix of strength and vulnerability. Camila's heart ached for her daughter, understanding now the depth of her struggles, and feeling a wave of guilt for the part she had played in their fractured relationship. "I needed to find my own path, Mom," Beatrice admitted, her eyes welling with tears. "I felt so trapped. I wanted to make my own choices." Camila nodded, understanding the longing for independence that had driven Beatrice away. She realized that her desire to protect her daughter had sometimes suffocated her, stifling the very spirit she had tried to nurture. It was a painful realization, but one that would ultimately strengthen their bond as mother and daughter. "I know I should have tried to understand you better," Camila said softly, her voice filled with regret. "I wanted what was best for you, but I see now how I failed to listen." Beatrice reached for her mother's hands, squeezing them gently. "It's okay, Mom. I think we both needed to grow. I've learned so much about myself in these past years." The conversation flowed, bridging the gap that had once felt insurmountable. They shared laughter, stories, and moments of vulnerability, laying the foundation for a new relationship built on understanding and acceptance. As they spoke, the bond that had initially frayed began to strengthen, rooted in love and the shared determination to move forward together. Camila could see the glimmer of the vibrant young woman she had once known, the dreams, the passions, and the indomitable spirit that had always been a part of Beatrice. Peter, who had remained in the background, watching the emotional reunion unfold, felt a swell of joy in his heart. He had witnessed the profound love that connected mother and daughter, and in that moment, he knew that he had played a part in rekindling their relationship. He approached them with a warm smile, feeling a sense of belonging in this newfound family dynamic. "I'm so glad you found each other," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "Beatrice is a remarkable person." Beatrice turned to Peter, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you for helping my mom find me. I owe you so much." Peter felt a lump form in his throat, overwhelmed by the emotions swirling around them. The journey to reunite Beatrice with her mother had been filled with uncertainty, but now, in this moment of connection, he felt a profound sense of purpose. As the three of them sat together, a new chapter began to unfold. Camila realized that while the past could not be changed, the future held endless possibilities. With each shared story and every heartfelt conversation, they began to weave a tapestry of hope, resilience, and love. The scars of the past would take time to heal, but together, they were determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the days that followed, Camila and Beatrice continued to reconnect, exploring the town of Maplewood and creating new memories together. They visited favorite cafes, shared laughter over books, and forged a bond that would stand the test of time. Peter remained by their side, his unwavering support a constant reminder of the importance of friendship and compassion. As they walked through the town, Camila felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was no longer just a mother searching for her daughter, she was a woman determined to embrace the present and build a future filled with love and understanding. Together, they began to heal, slowly reconstructing the pieces of their lives that had once felt irreparably broken. And so, in the heart of Maplewood, a story of redemption unfolded, a testament to the power of love and the unbreakable bond between a mother and daughter. Camila, Beatrice, and Peter stood together, united by their shared experiences, ready to face whatever life would throw their way. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever. As they watched the sun set over the horizon, the sky painted in shades of gold and pink, they knew that they had finally found their way back to each other, a journey that would forever shape their lives and define the love that would guide them through the future. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.